So our last lesson with 9.4 dealing with surface area, and then we'll get into volume, is going to have us reviewing each of these different things that we have on the screen, and then you'll have one word problem that we have to figure out as well. So there are 4 problems that you should see on the note sheet that you were given. So the first thing that I have here is a square base pyramid. So I know I'm going to find the surface area of a square base pyramid, and I have that process where it tells me to start by making the generic net and labeling it. So in order to make the generic net and labeling it, then once again I start with a square, and then I just add triangles to the sides. Then I want to label it. Well, the problem is that I have a base of 5 centimeters, but I don't have anything else. Well, remember, as we talked on a previous lesson, those tick marks, since they're individual, they're telling you that they all equal the exact same measurement. And since it's a square, I should also know that they equal the exact same measurement. So if that bottom left one is 5 centimeters and the bottom right one, as well as the 2 in the back, have to be 5 centimeters as well. Then I notice my height, which is 8 centimeters. So I'm going to indicate on one of my triangles that I'm doing my height and that that's 8 centimeters. Then I follow my process of finding the base and then finding the area of all 4 triangles, which tells me that I'm just going to multiply 2 times my base times height. So when I look at my base and I have base times height, it's a square. So I have 5 times 5, which is 25. On my triangle, then, once again, there are 4 triangles, and a triangle is always half of the area. So 4 halves make up 2, and that's why we can use the formula 2 times the base times the height. So my base is 5, and my height of my triangle is 8. So I do my order of operations, I do my math inside my parentheses. 5 times 8 is 40, and then I multiply by 2, which gives me 80. Once again, I offset the 25 so I can remember that I still have to do other math before I can say that's my answer. So I'm going to add my 80 and my 25 together to find out that I have 105. Looking at my labels, centimeters, area is always squared. So my final answer inside my answer box is 105 square centimeters. Now, once again, if I'm going too fast, then please pause and rewind it, however, whatever speed you need to. Or what you could do from this point forward is go ahead and work it and then check to see how I come up with the answer and see if you are correct. So as I get ready to do this triangular prism, then you are more than welcome to solve it and see if you do it correctly. Remember, this is a triangular prism and not a tetrahedron. And it looks like the papers I printed off, it didn't print off a couple of those measurements, or maybe it's too dark. But make sure that all 3 sides of your base triangle are indeed 8 kilometers and that the height of your base triangle is 6 kilometers. So since this is a triangular base pyramid, then that's the process we need to follow. And I always start by creating a generic net and labeling it. So I start by drawing my base triangle, and then I add my 3 lateral sides. So those lateral sides, they can be a little longer. This one is longer because of the shape of this upside down pyramid. Now I want to label my base. I can see that all 3 sides of the base are 8 and that the height is 6. Then when I look at my lateral sides of my pyramid, then I can see those triangles have a height of 11. So I have 2 different math problems to do before I add them together. So I start with my base, and once again, it's just a triangle. So I'm going to do base times height divided by 2. The base is 8, the height is 6. So I'm going to do my parentheses, 8 times 6 is 48, divided by 2, which gives me an answer of 24. Once again, I put it over on the side of my workspace, so I remember I have to add that to what I find in my next equation. Now, in my next equation, then I want to remember that when I have a triangle of base times height divided by 2, and that there are 3 of them that are equal, that I can go ahead and reduce that and use 1.5, right? Because 1.5 of those areas is going to take up all 3 of my triangles. So if I do, 3 equal triangles is equal to 1.5 times the base of 8 and the height of 11, I do inside my parentheses, which gives me 88. And then I multiply 88 by 1.5, and my handy dandy calculator tells me that's 132. So then my final step is to add my two areas together to find my total surface area. 4 and 2 is 6, 3 and 2 is 5, and then I have a 1. When I look at my labels, it's kilometers, so I'm going to have 100. Well, I don't know where 64 came from. Should be 156 square kilometers. All right, so now we're going to do some little challenging here because this is important information to read. It says we have a tetrahedron, so I know what a tetrahedron is. Hopefully I know what a tetrahedron is, and I can follow that process. But notice it says we're going to use fractions in your work and your answer, and some of you are going to freak out, and some of you are going to start crying because you want to use decimals because it's so much easier, and I'm going to say, let's find some grit. We need to learn to bucket up and work with fractions if we are told to work with fractions, and decimals if we're told to work with decimals, because this point forward in your education, you need to know how to do both. So let's find some grit and work with our fractions. So I can see in my tetrahedron, I want to start by making a generic net. The tetrahedron is the easiest one. I draw a big triangle, and then I draw another triangle inside to make it into 4 equal triangles. Then I want to label it. I can see that all of my lengths are equilateral triangles, so they're all going to be 8 3/8. When I look at the height, they're all going to be 10.2. Now, once again, we have to use fractions because that's what the directions say. And when I look at 10.2, it is said as 10 and 2/10. So once again, we're going to show some grit here, and we're going to actually use the fractions and mixed numbers like it tells us to. When I look at 10 and 2/10, well, that is 10 and 2/10 in mixed number form, but I want to reduce that. So I'm going to use 10 and 1/5 as the height of my triangles. Now, when I look at the process for a tetrahedron, I know I can multiply for 4 equal triangles, since they're each equal to half of an area of a rectangle. I can just multiply 2 times the base times height and be done. So when I set that up, I have 4 equal triangles is equal to 2 times the base, which is 8 3/4, times the height, which is 10 1/5. Then I can do that math. But I can't multiply mixed numbers. So now I have to change both of my mixed numbers into improper fractions so that I can multiply them. Once again, we start at the bottom and we multiply. 8 times 8 is 64. We add 64 plus 3 is 67, and I keep my denominator of 8. Then I go to 10 and 1/5, and I start at the bottom. I multiply. 5 times 10 is 50, and then I add. 50 plus 1 is 51, and I keep my denominator of 5. So now what I have inside my parentheses are my improper fractions because that's the only thing that I can multiply. So I actually have 67/8 times 51 over 5. Yes, I can multiply mixed number, or excuse me, improper fractions. How do I do it? I multiply across. When I do that, I get a really big number, right? I don't know why there's an extra arrow there, 3,417 over 40. Now I have to multiply those. But now I have the 2, and I have to make it an improper fraction, and I have 3,417 over 40 times the 2 over 1. Now I can cross reduce because 2 will go into 2 and 40. So if I reduce those, I have 2 going into 40 20 times and 2 going into 2 one time, which gives me 3,417 over 20. That's why we have a division box, because fractions are always division. My top number always goes inside my box, and I begin to divide. 20 goes into 34 one time, which is 20. I have 14 left over. I bring down my 1. Well, 2 times 7 is 14, so 7 times 20 is 140. I have 1 left over. I bring down my 7. There isn't anything else to bring down, and 20 will not go into 17, but I brought a 7 down. So once again, I have to ask myself, how many times does 20 go into 17? It goes in 0 times. Well, if 17 is my remainder, then I need to remember that my remainder is always my numerator and my divisor is always my denominator. So what we found when we did all four of those triangles with our fractions is that the overall surface area for this tetrahedron is 170 and 17/20 square units. All right, so let's finish up our review with this word problem. So we're told that Mrs. Plant likes to make some wooden pyramids. Well, I need to know what kind of pyramids I need to make my net into. And so my wooden pyramid has to be a square base pyramid because it says the pyramids have a square base. And therefore, if the bottom is a square, then I know that I have 4 triangles that are equivalent going around. It says that the measurement of the base square sides is 6.1 centimeters, and therefore they all have to be 6.1 centimeters because they are a square. And then it tells me that the slant height, right, the vertical sides, is going to be 7 1/4 centimeters. However, I've got decimals already, and I know I'm dealing with money in a moment, and that's a decimal. So we want to turn 7.14 centimeters into a decimal, which will make my life easier. So we're going to use it as 7.25. Then I go through my process for finding the surface area of a square-based pyramid. So I start with my base. It is a square, so I'm going to multiply base times height. So 6.1 times 6.1 gives me 37.21. Now, once again, if I'm going too fast for you to keep up, then take down the notes and then go back and watch it a couple times and listen to what I'm saying so you actually understand how all of this goes together. But now I'm going to take my 4 triangles, and once again, those 4 triangles, a triangle is half of a parallelogram. So if I take 4 of them, I end up with a total of 2. So I'm going to plug in my information that I know. The base of the triangles are 6.1, the height are 7.25, and then I'm going to multiply those together. When I multiply those together, then I can see that I get 44.225. That still has to be doubled, so if I multiply that by 2, then I get 88.45. So that's going to be my surface area of all of my triangles. So to find the surface area of my entire pyramid, then I have to add the area of the base and the area of the vertical sides, or the lateral sides as the book calls them. I bring down my decimal. 1 and 5 is 6, and 2 and 4 is 6, and 7 and 8 is 15, and then 8 and 1 is 9 plus 3 is 12. So I know that my overall surface area is 125 and 66 hundredths square centimeters. But then I have to use my money. So I have to apply my overall surface area and multiply it by 21 cents per square centimeter. So if I'm multiplying by 0.21, well, I start with that 1 and I end up with the exact same digits in the exact same order because 1 times any number is itself. My second number then tells me to bring down a 0, and therefore I can multiply by 2. 2 times 6 is 12, put down my addition of 1, and 2 times 6 is 12 plus 1 is 3. I put down my addition of 1 again. 2 times 5 is 10 plus 1, which is 11. Put down my 1, put down my addition of 1 again. And then 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And then I have 2 plus 1, or 2 times 1, which is 2. So then when I add those together, I have 6, 8, 8, 3, 6, and 2. Counting my decimal spaces in my math problem, there are 4, so I have to move from right to left 4 times. Now I'm dealing with money, right? And when I'm dealing with money, I have to round to my nearest pennies, which is my second decimal position. It's hundredths because there are 100 pennies in a dollar. So my indicator is always to the right, and rounding, that tells me to change the 8 into a 9 because I'm going to round up. So how much does she charge per pyramid? $26.39. All right, so hopefully the review was understandable. You didn't have any problems with it. So you have all 3 of these processes listed on Canvas for you. You have 7 questions that are due tomorrow as your homework assignment. So please send me a message if you do have questions and need help.